Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cócteles y Choreógrafos. We are so glad you could join us for this conversation. We have two fabulous Ballet Hispánico alums with us. We have the beautiful Jessica Batten, who is currently the director of the Putney School, which is a progressive boarding high school in Vermont, with a strong focus on the arts, agriculture, and sustainability. Very important. Hi, Jessica. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
And then we have the magical and our, because you are, Rodney Hamilton is here with us. I love Rodney. Director of the BH2 company, former dancer, of course, and faculty member of the School of Dance. Welcome, Rodney.
Thank you. Hello.
So we are going to have a little conversation about this piece, but mostly about the work and Ramon. So I'd love to start off with there's something about his movement that is so emotionally connected. There's a classicism to it. There's an early modern movement quality to it, but it's so full of emotion. Do you want to, either of you can start talking about how he brought that out when he worked with you?
I'll jump in. If I had to describe what Ramon's work was like for me, it's a really strong groundedness, but with like a longing and earthiness of like feeling duality throughout lots of his pieces. So you talk about emotion and depicting relationships and feeling vulnerable and rawness within certain capacities of whatever symbolisms might be throughout certain pieces. And lots of very small nuances and subtleties that also contribute to larger picture images and ideas that he tried to convey. So it was hoping for a very natural and genuine aspect of working with very physical work.
Yeah, I would second that. And when you say physical, working with him is, I would say, a tactile type of experience, not only for the dancer as well as the audience. His movement is very contemporary, very modern, Limon circular movement, and it has an emotional quality to it that naturally connects with the music or with the story that he's telling. And it's a simple thing, as he'd always say, when you touch someone, really touch them. And we'd spend time just trying to figure out what that feels like to have the skin touch someone else's skin, so that you get that feeling, not only just by doing the movements, but just really in the body, in the soul, in the bones. And that's a really great quality that I got working with him. Just that being real is being real. There's no kind of faking it.
Yeah, I will agree with that, because I worked with him when he was just starting out as a choreographer, and he keeps reminding me that, but we'll let that go. So he has this this way to bring you into the experience of the character, and I think you captured that well. It's very tactile, and he works with these very subtle. Jessica, what you were saying, subtle smallness, right? That are these little nuggets that come out. I wonder if Jessica, you could tell me. Let's dig into and unpack that smallness and where you found that. Was it in the gestures? Was it in the story? Was it in the actual step?
Well, I think all of it, right? So as a dancer, you want to look at the dancing, right? That's a piece of it. But then as a viewer, if you're going to see art, hopefully you're going because you want to be moved and you want to see something and you want to take in something for yourself. That's the beauty of like having an immersive interaction, such as dance, like in a live performing art. So a lot of his subtleties and sensualities and like small isolations that turn into a bigger, broader picture. You know, you could see in this ballet that the dancers are showing the migration of the Roma people and what struggle felt like, because they are a unit, they are a group, but globally not recognizable, you know, on the map, right? So they never had like a set home. They had to keep going along the way. And I think he captured that really beautifully, that like, even though it was a struggle and a hardship, that they were in it together, you know, in that setting. And trying to find ways that they were feeling the oppression and other, you know, things that made it difficult, that they also had pride and love for who they are and what they are and what they're trying to achieve on their journey.
Yeah, that's such an important factor of how he works, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the pieces that I always saw, Rodney, it was always, there was a sense of community. There was a sense of holding on together. But what I loved, I mean, back in the 90s when I worked with him, you know, there was a sense of non-gender also.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Right? And maybe you can talk about that and how he brought that in. I mean, he really never talked about it. There was never, you're the man and you're the woman.
Right. No, it was never really a conversation. There were, you know, all his movement has this, has a sensual quality to it that both the man and the woman, male, female, had to do. You know, for instance, the solo in this piece, Dime, I performed it, but when it was originally choreographed, it was choreographed for a female.
Right.
And the choreography didn't change. It was just the person who danced it changed because you know, his movement and his steps do have kind of that unisex type feeling to it. You know, it really goes to show that, you know, no matter race, color, gender, anything like that, the movement is the movement, the story is the story, the people are the people. And that's, you know, like you said, you talked about community. A lot of his pieces are about community and about different tribes of people that work, and you know, he sees them as people, as human beings, all as one, all as a collective. What happens when we work together, right? What happens when one person falls off the side? Then the community helps to pick that person up, right? And like you said, man, woman, it doesn't matter. If we're doing it together, then something strong comes out of it. And you know, for Bury Me Standing, you know, the Gypsy people worked as a community. That's who they had. They had their community because they were ostracized by everyone else, you know, that was around them. So when they traveled and worked together, they had to have, you know, each other's back. They had to take care of each other. You know, they had to support each other to get through whatever it was they were getting through. So
we're going to get further deeper into the piece a little bit, but before that, what I love you both are really touching base on is his ability to connect with the human experience and human connection. How he gets that with you as a dancer. Let's dig into that a little, because and maybe Rodney could start and then Jessica, because you know, he comes from that another world that he is, and he worked with Pina Bausch, so
yes.
there's a lot of inheritance there. He was never mean per se. He really dragged it out of you.
Oh, absolutely. He's a man.
So he's a powerful manager of your personal artistry.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, he demanded you to really look within yourself, right? Not be on the surface. So, you know, what does it mean from your soul? You know, it's a very much in the soul type dancer, and he would, you know, he would talk to you, give you different imageries to work with, and he would get up and physically do the movement, physically show you what he meant, and then, you know, not ask you to recreate it, but to put that feeling or that emotion into your body. And, you know, he would drive it home, drive it home to get that dramatic aspect, if you dare to say, of the work and of the step, because, you know, his work, a lot of it all tells a story. So you have to understand what story you're telling. You have to understand who you're telling the story about, and not only who you're telling it about, but become that person. You know, he really wanted you to become part of whatever story that is. He did a lot of research. There was a lot of research done on his part, and then he brought that research into the dancers, and transferred that information to us, so that, you know, we were able to kind of understand. And, you know, for the people who didn't, because he spoke Spanish and he speaks English as well. But if you didn't understand what he was saying, he would show you physically, right? It was a physical thing to show what it was, and then really push. Yeah. So he wasn't mean, but he demanded you to rise to the occasion, right? As opposed to staying on this same level. You needed to rise to the occasion to better yourself in whatever that is, or whatever that means.
Yeah. Jessica, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I'll just echo that same sentiment. And what I was just going to say is that a very like fond memory of working with Ramon for me was that the very first creation process that I stepped into as a dancer at Ballet Hispánico was a brand new creation of Ramon's, Corazón al Andaluz. And that one was incredible to be a part of, right? It was the creative process, but like Rodney said, he spoke Spanish primarily in the studio. And, you know, I took Spanish in high school, and I like wanted to practice, and I was always so grateful for him because he was so patient and kind with me, allowing me the opportunity to practice and engage in the dialogue, because it was necessary for the physical work that we were doing. However, he did encourage, challenge, and push me to like rise to the occasion. You know, there were plenty other dancers in the company at the time that were fluent Spanish speakers, and it was very quick moving, and it was on to the next thing. And I was like, wait, what? Like, hold on, you know, I gotta go back one more time. And I'm like translating in my head and like trying to do things at the same time and work with partners. So he was a gentle person, but really challenged me as an artist, and I appreciate that very much.
There's nothing wrong with being a demanding artist.
No.
No.
It's what gets us going, and certainly as a young dancer, he really changed who I became as an artist. I mean, I think he is instrumental for a lot of my artistic aesthetic, and I have told him, and I appreciate him for that.
I would agree. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take us into the story, because Bury Me Standing, the title really comes from this Isabel Fonseca book. A beautiful title called the quote that says, "Bury me standing because I've been on my knees all my life." And it's such that stays with you, the idea. And, you know, I think it's so important for Ballet Hispánico to do these stories. I mean, because this is one of these reflective kind of works that's actually very current with what's going on today, when people are either marginalized or beat down. The Roma people, the Gypsy people to this day in Spain still have a hard time, right? And so I just bring this up because I think that this is the power of the arts, that it helps engage us in a dialogue. Both of you are exquisite educators. So I wonder how maybe you could talk about how works like this help you bring not only past historical references, but relevant stories of today into your classroom.
Something that one of the philosophies of the Putney School, where I'm the director of dance, is that we try to encourage our students to learn by doing and engaging in difficult conversations, right? And so fully knowing that nobody knows everything, and that you might stick your foot in your mouth at some point and say something that you're not totally up on. And the term like being woke is like different for everybody around, but it's so important to have the conversations with people that you actually disagree with or that you can learn from, because that is how you progress, and that's how you're able to open up a different lens into seeing and hearing someone else's story, and being an ally or an advocate for someone who has privilege in their own right, to be able to stand up and do what you think to move forward, so we don't repeat the history that's already happened. And I think, I don't know for sure, I don't have a direct lineage or connection to the Roma people, but this is one topic that I have in my world dance class, and I have someone come in who is well versed on it and talks about that it's still a struggle, and it's still a stereotypical bash on who they are as a people. And it's such a shame, because it's a beautiful blend of many histories and cultural differences that make up what they are and where they've been and what people stand for.
Yeah, and I would say that so this piece, it makes it a little easier for people to be able to start talking about something more difficult, right? And that's what the arts does at times. What I mean by that is you see the ballet, and it's so beautiful, so beautifully done, but the topics and the imageries that it has can be a little bit rough, truthful. These people that beg, that's what they know about them. Oh, they're begging, 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 but then yet there's these beautiful moments of community with it. So it's a way to kind of open up the door to start talking about things that are happening now, and how times are changing, but how much are they really changing, and what can we do to get them to progress and change more. In these conversations, we have people who are still struggling with the Roma people are still struggling with these things that, like Jessica said, we have people dying. We have Americans who are struggling with this battle on an everyday basis, and so making the connections of other cultures and putting a face on what's really happening in our culture as well, I think really helps educate our youth. And what better way to do it through the arts? Yeah. What a softer way to do it is by saying, so this is something artistic, yet it talks about what happens in everyday life, right? And isn't that what Ballet Hispánico, why it was started, to give a face to people who people thought weren't good enough, right, in the arts,
never seen on stage before.
It really makes complete sense that works like this and the arts, although it was choreographed however many years ago, 20 years ago, you still see how relevant it is today, and it is for our youth to continue to see these kinds of traditions, so that it doesn't get lost, it doesn't get forgotten, so that we think, oh, everything's okay now, because it's not. It really isn't. Underneath all of this stuff, it really isn't okay. So.
Yeah, and this, I just want to make sure that the audience who's with us, thank you for joining us. I want to make sure if you have any questions. We had a question, I think it might have been answered. This work was originally choreographed in the 90s. How are these themes of ostracization, and prejudice towards a group of people still prevalent when viewing the work today? It's there. I think it's everything that you said. And I think the thing about dance is that we are the other language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We are that communication tools that allows you to sit in a space and ponder and look at the images and reflect and see how that equates with your own life. And obviously, we still have groups of people, many people, who are not only being ostracized, but are being killed in our own community. And that is why we continue to do the art. We have a great question from Mr. Philip Ford. Thank you for this question. And I might have to take this. How aware was the choreographer of the Romani purity laws? This is a great question. And the division between pure upper body and impure lower body, with the waistline being the divide. It's such an interesting, Philip, we could go into a long conversation. Ramon was very much aware because he was part gypsy. So he would talk about the things, how this came out in the work. There was a duet where, you know, only the feet were touching, doing the lift. It was about support, but also he uses a lot of imagery to kind of hint at or suggest at some of the cultural references. So while it's not specifically said, I think there's a lot of historical, as Rodney said, there's a lot of research that went into the work and from his own family. I do want to just point out that it's one of the things that I teach when I teach salsa is that imaginary line of the fusion of cultures, with the Spanish, right, being so upheld and the African being so deep and down from the waist down. So I think that translates beyond Spain, those kinds of essences of fusion during colonization specifically. So thank you for that question. We're going to move on. So if you have another question, please let us know. So we're going to go now to Ballet Hispánico, because it's always fun to talk about Ballet Hispánico. So maybe, and being a dancer at Ballet Hispánico, maybe you guys can share one of your most favorite times on tour with the company. The company represents something so important for this country, and you were certainly a very important part of it.
God, times on tour. Jessica, you want to start with that one?
I didn't choose anyone, just in case.
Yeah, we had a lot of good times on tour. I mean, you know, as I think it's been said in the past, hey Arctos, that's you know, it's been said in the past, we are a huge family, you know, Ballet Hispánico, and when we get together, we spend so much time together, and just really have fun and kind of take each other and go around. God, I have so many times on tour. Depends on what kind of stories you want.
Just go.
You know, I mean,
doing one of his works, a tour with his works.
Tour with his works, doing one of his works. Well, doing Bury Me Standing, I can remember, you know, performing it in, I think it was DC. We performed it, and just being able to perform in that wonderful theater. And I just kind of remember standing on the stage and looking out while doing the piece, and kind of, you know, kind of getting teary-eyed a little bit, because it, you know, it was all so emotional, being together there and just having the community of the dance and the company, you know, was quite amazing. So that was a really memorable moment for me, doing that work particularly.
Jessica?
Well, you know, as I was thinking back in my memory lane over here, I have nothing but nostalgic and really cherished and loved memories of my time as a dancer at Ballet Hispánico. And two very quick, like, snippets of a fond memory that I have is my very first performance and tour with Ballet Hispánico when I first joined. Was to go to DC and perform for the Hispanic Heritage Awards that was being televised at the Kennedy Center. And I was brand new. we weren't doing a work that was already in the rep. It was something that we like had to learn very quickly, and 2 weeks later we were going. And you know, I laughed because it was very memorable, because it felt so glamorous. Like, we were going to the Kennedy Center, we needed gala gowns, we had hair and makeup ready for us, we were, you know, in Washington D.C. and like presenting for all of these incredible humans that we were honoring. And then we were still in the hallways being like, oh my God, what are we doing? Wait, who has that? Yeah, wait, grab me here, do that, right? So it was completely nerve-wracking, but like really exciting for me. And I think that that was a really appropriate Ballet Hispánico initiation, because that's pretty much how I felt all my time there. And then I would just have to say, one of my most favorite performance memories in all of my career, Ballet Hispánico and beyond, is Eduardo, you were already with us as artistic director, and we went to Guatemala. We were performing in Antigua, and I just can't believe how amazing that like entire tour was. But I remember us teching in the afternoon in the like 100+ degree weather, and the Marley was literally melting under our feet. Like,
Yes.
we were in bathing suits, teching in the middle of the day, and had to wear sneakers and shoes because
the ballet shoes got holes in them. Remember?
Ballet shoes. And we had to do batucada, and we couldn't even like put the ballet slippers on because they were like rubbing through our feet. We were getting blisters. But then that night, the performance was like one of the most magical. I can still remember it. I know I'm a little cheesy and corny. Rodney always tells me that. But it was like performing in front of, you know, ancient Mayan ruins, this like, you know, dilapidated church. And like at night, it was cold. We were performing, I think we performed Tres Cantos,
Yes,
Batucada, and like it just, the energy and like the swirling of like maybe spirits being with us, or I don't know. It just, that sticks out in my head as like a really memorable performance, and it was lovely.
it was so beautiful. I wish I had, I do have photos, but I didn't prepare them. If I knew, I would prepare them to share with the audience. Well, I just want to raise a glass to Tina Ramirez, because we are three different generations, I myself being one, and she gave so much to all of us and to the world. So happy 50th anniversary, Tina.
Salud.
Yes.
Yeah. And thank you so much. I know it went quick, but thank you so much for.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying my Tina Ramirez margarita.
Explain
right
that quickly to our audience, please.
So this is for a tribute to Ms. Ramirez. She is the first person to be a boss of mine that would tell us on Friday afternoons to go up to the 10th floor and have a pitcher of margaritas waiting for us. And let me tell you, one is enough. And that little woman, she knows how to make a mean margarita. So this is for you, Tina.
Okay, my time with Tina was never like that.
Yes, she mellowed there a bit. Yeah, it didn't start out that way.
No, we had to get Rodney to be like, to soften her up a little bit.
Oh, good.
He was the go-to.
Well, Jessica and Rodney, thank you so much. I so appreciate you joining me. It was just lovely. Thank you so much. And everyone,
thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for a watch party and conversation.
And support the arts. Support the arts.
You must support the arts.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.